Alright guys, thank you for clicking on this video. So in this video I'm going to be talking about how to get hollow cheeks. So I basically written down everything over my years of looks maxing that influences the way your cheekbones are perceived by other people, how to fraud them if you do not have any lateral zygomatic projection, how to get rid of the bloating, and all things that come into play. Now you might be wondering, why would I take advice from somebody who's riddled with acne, who has very little cheekbone definition, and who looks bloated? Good question. That is because of multiple reasons, which I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to actually show you a picture on the screen. If I'm too lazy, then you should check a few videos prior where I have pictures of me in my prime. But yeah, in short, I did a lot of stuff to mess up my face, which I'm going to be talking about in this video as well. So the main pillars of achieving hollow cheeks are going to be, firstly, body fat. This is pretty obvious. A lot of people talk about this. The second pillar will be water retention and lymphatic system, lymphatic drainage. The third will be the masseter insertion and zygomatic bone. And the last pillar will be frauding using makeup, which is something I do not use, but I will briefly touch on that. So first off, if you want to have hollow cheekbones, you obviously have to lose weight and get to a lean body fat, preferably under 12, ideally under 10% body fat. So I'm not going to be talking about that a lot because it's just obvious, and this is stuff that's being regurgitated by all these influencers, so you probably already know about this. Now, when it comes to the water retention and the lymphatic system, there's a lot of stuff we can do about this. Actually, I forgot one more thing, and that's going to be the surgical route. So you have cheekbone implants, buccal fat removal. If you consider aqualicks and lemon bottle also to be surgical interventions, then yes, those fall into that as well. Aqualicks is basically a fat dissolvent, lemon bottle as well, which is basically a bile acid that increases lipolysis within the targeted area, and the lymphatic system drains the fat that is broken down in your face, leaving you with more hollow cheek definition. I personally haven't tried this before, but a lot of people have on the forums. Just be careful. If you know what you're doing, then this can definitely help you. Now, going back to the water retention and the lymphatic system, when it comes to water retention, the first thing I would think of is your diet. How many carbs are you eating? Are you constantly spiking your insulin? Those things. What also is very important is alongside the low carb diet, which is going to be optimal to reduce water retention, because for every amount of carbs you eat, you hold a certain amount of water. So ideally you want to be in a low carb state, so eating mostly meat, animal based. What's also going to be important is movement. If you sit all day and do nothing, then your face won't drain the water, and it will store up in your face. The lymphatic system will not function properly if you do not have sufficient amount of movement. Now, you'll get, I would say, 60-70% of the benefit if you just do some light walking throughout the day. If you want ideal results, HIIT cardio will be the best to achieve this hollowed look. Now, what you can also do is diuretics. In diuretics, you have natural diuretics, and you have synthetic chemicals that are used to dehydrate the body. Now, some people use vodka or caffeine, but the con in this is that your body will rebound, and you will, as a result, the day after have more water retention stored in your face. You can also use furosemide. I think that's it, but this is a drug, and I wouldn't use it because it's quite bad for you. There are some natural products you can use to increase facial water or the release of the water retention in your face. that are more natural. You can get Keishami's product Debloat, which contains what is it called again? Dandelion root extract, for example, cranberry extract. These are known diuretics, which will help you get rid of excess water in your face and in your body overall. Just don't overdo them, because in any kind of situation it's not good if you're on too many herbal supplements. So I would just be careful with that. What you can do is just increase the potassium in your diet. It's not so much about just you consuming tons of potassium, it's more about the potassium to sodium ratio. You also do not want to chronically have low sodium, because you can actually get brain damage and you will become stupid. Trust me, I've tried this. So it's more about the ratio. Now, the most under talked about aspect when it comes to this, which I see no people talking about actually, and that is stress. And when I'm talking about stress, I'm solely talking about chronic stressors. So I'm talking about things like chronic calorie restriction, carb restrictions, mental stress, all those things, as long as they're chronic. This will be the biggest detriment to you actually achieving that hollowed face look. And this is because of the many detrimental effects it has on the body. It will increase your acne, it will redistribute your facial fat actually, to where you have more estrogenic features on your face, because higher stress will result in lower testosterone, increased estrogen, which will redistribute your facial fat to your cheeks, which will actually quite significantly affect your facial dimorphism, which has happened to me as well. Other than that, water retention as a result from stress, it's a protection mechanism from the body. So yeah, chronic stress is one of the biggest determinisms in you actually achieving a... Sorry, I had to pause the video there. So chronic stress is going to be the biggest determinator in you actually achieving that hollow faced look. You can do all these things. If you're chronically depressed and stressed, this won't work. It just won't. Now, having some stress is not going to destroy your results, alright? But we're talking about extremes here, so you're likely will not have a cortisol face. If you just have a little stress, it won't be as impactful lowering the stress as, for example, somebody having high cortisol levels. But still, I would recommend this a lot. Another thing that's not talked about a lot is just your hormonal status. As I talked about before, if you have high cortisol, your testosterone will be lower, your estrogen will be higher, and as a result your facial fat distribution will be more feminine. So that's why you will benefit greatly from having higher androgen status. So make sure your testosterone levels are healthy and keep your estrogen in control. There are also supplements that can be used to lower estrogen, but in 99% of cases I will not recommend this unless you're also doing other pharmacological interventions which will lead to a higher estrogen status. In that case I would use a supplement like DIM and damn bro, I can't talk English. Dimethylcarbinol, I think that's called. If you just look up natural estrogen lowering supplements, you can get some herbals. Again, I do not recommend herbals, but if you do have high estrogens, these things can help for you. And you also have pharmacological drugs, aromatase inhibitors, but for the amount of benefit you're getting when it comes to hollow cheeks, I would not recommend getting on any pharmacological drugs to achieve that lowering of estrogen. Alright, next point. We talked about the lymphatic drainage. Some things you can do is trampolining. This is one of the best ways to get rid of the water retention in your face and increase the lymphatic drainage. Gua sha, ice rolling, etc. These can all be beneficial in you achieving that lean look. Alright, so now it's going to be into another niche topic where I've never seen somebody talk about this actually. Well, there are some forum posts about this on .org, but it hasn't been talked about enough in my opinion. And when it comes to hollow cheek, this is going to be the most important factor in my opinion. Or again, I said that before with the stress. These things are, in my opinion, on par, and that's going to be master training. Now, I see a lot of people talking about master training when they want to achieve a better jawline, get more hollow cheeks. Now, there are cases in where this works. For example, Brad Pitt is the most famous example of this. He has these wide, big masseters, which make his jawline look good. Now, in 99% of cases, this is actually going to be a detriment because you are not Brad Pitt. What's actually going to determine if cheekbones or if your cheekbones will look better because of masseter hypertrophy will be your masseter insertions and your cheekbone width. If you have inverted gunions like me, which means that this part of your jaw is going to be more narrow than your zygomatic width, then masseter training will almost certainly lead to you having a bloated chipmunk look. And that is because the masseter is a muscle and not a bone. So in its relaxed state, it will not look sharp and angular, but instead it will look rounded. Now, people always talk about it stretching the skin and thereby making it your face look hollow. But there are many cases, and I would say in the most cases, what will actually happen is by you training the muscle, you will get a bigger volume of muscle here, and it will actually fill the space of the hollow cheeks, which will lead to you having less hollowing and looking more rounded and disrupting your facial harmony. So what I would recommend if you are thinking about growing your masseter, there are definitely cases where people could use some more muscle in the lower face and it will actually improve their jaw. I would just recommend not going to any website and buying any mastic gum or products and just chewing more tough foods. This will be sufficient for most people. Alright, if you've already ruined your face by having big masseters, or you think that big masseters are contributing to you having a bloated face, in that case, I would recommend for natural treatments, I would recommend you doing this exercise. This exercise, I'm going to show this briefly on the face, which is a muscle relaxant exercise. So what you're going to be doing is grabbing your hands and putting them right under the cheekbone where the masseter is inserted. Now what you're going to be doing is putting on even pressure on both sides and holding that for about 30 seconds. Until you can feel the blood flow go out of the muscle and your muscle relax. After that, when you let go, you should temporarily see more cheekbone hollowing. If that is the case with you, that means that your masseter insertion is probably too high up on the cheekbone, and you will know at that point that masseter training will result in you having a more bloated facial look. So if you clench, you can also feel that there's a rising here in the masseter. If you train that, the muscle will grow like every muscle in your face. So there are some things you can try before actually you going into the mastication route to tell if you will have a negative experience with this. But in general, I would not recommend anything that is unnatural, and these jawline exercises where you chew intensely with these unnatural products will 9 times out of 10 be a detriment because it's unnatural. So yeah, just keep that in mind, alright? I'm not saying that natural will be better in 99% of cases, but in this case it will definitely be. So I think I talked about the most important things. There might be something that I've forgotten. Oh yeah, I haven't mentioned the makeup. You can just use shadowing on your jaw by getting like a marker and then just filling up this area so it will look darker. I personally do not do this, but there are many videos on the internet you can find where people will give you instructions on how to do this. So yeah, that's going to be everything. I'm just gonna briefly talk about my own face and why I'm not currently having any hollowing. And that is because of the masseter problem, the lack of exercise, and chronic stress. So if I move backwards, you can see my face better. You can definitely see I have wide set cheekbones, but the masseter is covering the hollowing. Now I look kind of autistic touching my face the entire time, and that's maybe because I am. I do not think I am, because, well, I don't know. I haven't been diagnosed. All of this stuff is too autistic. We should just learn to accept ourselves at the end of the day and just go to the gym, lose weight. That's 99% of the improvement that we're going to get. All this extra shit is just giving you more mental burden and probably not going to lead you anywhere. But if it does, then leave a comment, like the video, I guess. If you have any other video topics, please let me know in the comments. Again, excuse me for my bad English. I'm not thinking very clearly because I never do that. Basically in a rut, or have been in a rut for the last 2.5 years of my life. Haven't done anything, and I'm just slowly picking up again. But if there was any benefit in this video, please let me know in the comments, and hope you all have a good day. Bye bye.